writing my feelings in miniature.
Good morning to you all. It is lovely to see you here in the room, and also hello to those on YouTube Live. Welcome to the Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg. My name is Ben Atherton Zeman, and I am the minister here, and I am thrilled to be leading worship today alongside our new worship associate, Todd Wellman, along with his assistant, Jade Johnson.
Thanks, Ben. We are a people of many beliefs, but we share a common faith that what we do in this world matters, and that we are connected to one another and to our planet. However you are, wherever you are in your journey, you are welcome.
Well done, Jade Johnson, everybody. I want to give a special welcome to any newcomers. If you want a church where Black Lives Matter, where women's rights are human rights, and where we believe science is real, I have good news. You may have found your church home. In keeping with the church bylaws, I hereby officially announce from the pulpit that we will be having our annual meeting on Sunday, May 22nd. For those of you online, please note the meeting will be hybrid, so you can participate even if you're not physically present.
Thanks, Ben. Today, the transition team is hosting UUSP community conversations here at the church. This is a very important step where members and friends discuss the Goldilocks questions. What do I want more of? What do I want less of? And what is just right? The information we receive today will be compiled into a format to be used by the search team for the work in September, searching for our next minister. Please use this opportunity to form the framework of what you would like UUSP to be in the future. In your order of service, you will find a piece of paper with the questions to be discussed in small groups, which will occur immediately after today's service. You can start thinking about your responses now and write notes to inspire conversation later. There will be 7 spaces scattered throughout the buildings and outdoors. The color of your paper will match a space that will have the same color paper near its entrance. We have distributed the colors randomly so that, if you sit with someone, you'll end up with someone new to you. The spaces are the lounge, formerly known as the bride's room, the library, Conway, the minister's office, the patio by the kitchen, the porch off Gilmore, and the playground. There will be coffee in Gilmore, thank goddess, which you can take to your space. Each space will have some light refreshments. Rebecca, Beth, Michael, and Sabina will be wearing Ask Me signs to answer any questions and to help you find your space. Let's create the church we want to be.
Thanks, Todd. And Rebecca just stood up. Michael, do you mind standing up? And any of the other folks with Ask Me signs, stand as you're able. Great. And Rebecca's going to remind us of which rooms to go to after the postlude. Today's May Day worship is entitled Nurturing the Beauty of Working People, and it's the first in this month's theme. We have themes here. Our theme this month of May is Nurturing Beauty. It's the last day of Ramadan, so Ramadan Mubarak to all UU Muslims here and on YouTube Live. You get to eat tomorrow during the day. Today's also Beltane. We'll hear from Reverend Aaliyah about that. And finally, it's New Member Sunday, and I believe we have 5 new members who are going to sign the book today. It's very exciting. James Mack and John are providing music. Along with Aaron Cassette, Kelly Elson, and Marissa Polar. Live streaming, our greeters are Aaliyah Cannon, Jamie Gray, Pat Fling, Jerry Humphrey-Gatz, and Sabina Von Allock. Our RE volunteers are Ariana Drew. Where's Ariana? Hi, Ariana. And Elle, I thought was going to be, but maybe Elle's already back there. Janae Johnson and Trish Harding are supporting them, and our view from the pew, like I said, will be from Reverend Aaliyah Cannon. Now let us take a moment to center ourselves for the service.
Our flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It is a symbol of hope, the sacred, the quest for truth, and the warmth of community, the light of reason, and so much more. Donald Untitled Chapter. I invite you to say our covenant out loud. The words can be found in the text chat if you like. You may choose to follow along with the hand movements. Love is the spirit of church, and serve is its law. This is a great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you, Jade. Please rise as we are willing and able for hymn number 1051 in our teal hymnal, We Are.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers and life, the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Please be seated. Any children can come forward to join me and the Monkey King for our Time for All Ages. Janae and Trish, where are they going? Are they going the first two rows? Is that what's happening? What, just if you could put them wherever they're going to go. It's going to be here on the chairs, the stairs? Okay. Hey, nice to see you. All right. Hello, I am the Monkey King. Nice to see you. Oh, they can't see me. So the story about me is a very old story. It's about 2,200 years old. And here it is. Oh, thanks. I think I'm funny too. Todd's gonna hold me now. Because the two main characters in this story are the Monkey King, who is a good and kind and wise king, and the human king, who is greedy and selfish. And guess who's going to play the human king? Me is right. So there was a river a long time ago. Where's my river? Will you help me make a river here? We'll just run the river from here all the way down here. It's called the Ganges River, and it was this beautiful river, and upstream in the river lived the Monkey King and the Monkey Kingdom. And this really, really beautiful mango tree, and this is the last time we're using mangoes, we're using balloons, because it turns out folks are allergic, so enjoy them while you can this last time. This mango tree fed all of the Monkey King's subjects, and everyone was happy in the Monkey King's kingdom. And the Monkey King every night would say to them, "This is a great kingdom, and I just love being your king. But there's one thing," can you hold a mango for me? "There's one thing I want to make sure that you never do."
Never let the mangoes in the river.
Don't let the mangoes fall in the river. I mean, how hard can that be, right? You got your mangoes, everything's good. So what do you think happens? Do they let it fall in the river, or do they not? They do let it fall in the river, because that's how these stories do. So thank you, good. If you could do that, if you could let it fall in the river, if you actually make it flow downstream to me, the evil, venal, selfish. Some of them don't make it, but a couple of the mangoes make it, and some of the humans go out into the river and say, "Hey, what's this?" And they bring it to the selfish king, that's me, who then takes a bite and says, "Oh my God, that's the best thing I've ever tasted. These mangoes are so delicious. Humans, saddle up. let's go see where these came from. So we saddle up and we ride, I guess we ride, up. Use the robe as the horse? I'm not wearing a robe, though.
Like this.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Jade. So the king rode north and saw the Monkey King, hi Monkey King, and saw all the mangoes. And do you think they were friendly? They were nice to the... Yes. They were? Actually not. They started shooting them with arrows. Choo, choo, choo. So the Monkey King and all the monkeys fled up to the tree where they were safe. And then the sun set, and the king said, you know, you remember I'm selfish, and I want all of those mangoes, and the only way we're going to get them is by killing all the monkeys. But we can't do it until tomorrow morning for some random story reason. So we're going to camp out on this side of the river tonight, and in the morning we'll kill all the monkeys, and then we'll have mangoes, and our lives will be great. Well, meanwhile, the Monkey King, knowing that he had one shot at saving all of his subjects, decided he would try to save them using his body. And since he was magic, he was able to stretch out his body. Let's use the river to be the stretching out of his body. Stretch, 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 all the way across the river so that all of his people escaped over the humans throughout the night. But it was a big strain on the Monkey King. He strained and he strained, and he almost didn't make it. But when the last monkey crossed over his body, the Monkey King's body just snapped, and he fell down right into the arms of the selfish human king, who looked down at his foe, the Monkey King, who he had come there to kill and take all the mangoes. And that human king was so inspired by the example of this good Monkey King that instead of killing the Monkey King, he said, this is how I should be. I've been a terrible king. I should be a good king like this Monkey King. And he took care of the Monkey King. Help me take care of the Monkey King. And he nursed him back to health. And we waited till he was all better. And the human king became a very just and good king who was no longer selfish and treated his subjects with decency and paid them a living wage and allowed them to organize unions. And the Monkey King eventually was reincarnated into Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha. And that is the story of the Monkey King. Thank you so much for your attention. And we have a very cool song to sing you out to.
The words to the singing out song are in your bulletin. As you leave this sacred place, there's a smile on every face. May this time while we're apart bring you joy and fill your heart. Go now in peace, may love increase. Let the lessons that you learn guard your heart till you return.
Our reading today, chosen by Todd, are two poems by Joshua Bennett.
Poet and literary critic Joshua Bennett earned an MA in Theater and Performance Studies from the University of Warwick, where he was a Marshall Scholar, and his PhD from Princeton University. He's the author of 4 books. We're moved to share some of his poems with you today. The first poem is Token Sings the Blues.
You contain multitudes and are yet contained. Everywhere you go, confined, like there is always someone watching you. And isn't there? Isn't that the entire point of the flesh you inherited? Be twice as good, Mama says, as if what they have is worth your panic, worth measuring your very life against. And you always remember to measure your hair, your volume, your tone over email.
You are everything, your big sister says. And on your best days above ground, you believe her.
And then our next poem by Joshua Bennett is America Will Be, after Langston Hughes. I woke up this morning and there were men on television lauding a wall big enough to box out an entire world, families torn with the stroke of a pen, the right to live little more than some garment that can be stolen or reduced to cinder at a tyrant's whim. My father knows this, grew up knowing this, witnessed firsthand the firebombs, the Klan, multiple messiahs, love soaked and shot through. Sometime, somehow, still believes in this grand blood-stained experiment, still votes, still prays that his children might make a life unlike any he's ever seen.
He looks at me like the promise of another cosmos, and I never know what to tell him. All the books in my head have made me cynical and distant, but there's a choir in him that calls me forward. My disbelief built as it is from the bricks of his belief, not in any America you might see on network news or hear heralded before a football game, but in the quiet power of Sam Cooke singing that he was born by a river that remains unnamed, that he runs alongside to this day some vast and future country, some nation within a nation, black as candor, loud as the sound of my father's unfettered laughter over cheese, eggs, and coffee. His eyes shut tight as armories, his fists unclenched as if he were invincible.
Thank you, Todd. And now we come to the time in our worship service for joys, sorrows, and concerns. And if any of you have filled out a card with your joy, your sorrow, or concern, you want to hold your card. Okay, great, thanks. Thanks, Kelly. If Kelly can get the card. And Aaliyah, do you mind doing the stones? I appreciate it. Those of you on YouTube Live, please type the joys, sorrows, and concerns into the text chat. And Aaliyah will place a stone in the water for each one that was submitted this week. And the first stone is a stone of joy from Karen Cole, our board president. For my father, she says, who was a union organizer, and his grandfather, who was also a union organizer with railroad employees, often driven out of town.
A stone of sorrow from our board chair, Karen Cole, on the passing of Mary Berglund this week. Karen says Mary was a member of UU St. Pete, but is most well known in the St. Petersburg community for her leadership within the League of Women Voters here in St. Pete, as well as across the state of Florida. She was certainly my mentor when I became president, and I treasure her wise and precise analysis of how to handle rather delicate political situations. Mary was a class act, and I am most fortunate to have worked with her.
Thanks, Todd. I was most fortunate to have met Mary's family this week, along with Janae. It sounds like her memorial service will take place here at UU St. Pete sometime in late May, possibly May 23rd, the day after our annual meeting. Our next stone is a stone of concern from our Joanne Kellner, who has just been diagnosed with breast cancer. And Joanne says the doctors are treating it with chemotherapy in hopes for a full recovery, but she says they will most likely have to remove the breast itself.
Another stone of concern, this one from Bob Riddle. He has bladder cancer, and his surgery this past week had some complications. Please keep Bob in your thoughts as he recovers.
A stone of joy from Kelly Algara Olson. Kelly's son is having a concert tonight at the VFW.
And another stone of joy, this one from John and James. For the first time in over 2 years, the One City Chorus performs, today at 4 o'clock. The concert is free and will take place at Lakewood United Methodist Church.
A stone of concern for the many people who are being exposed to COVID, testing negative for COVID after being exposed, and in some cases, testing positive for COVID. And then we place a final stone for those joys, sorrows, and concerns that remain in our hearts, perhaps too tender to be spoken out loud. And let us take a moment of silence together. The mystery is that we are connected, even when we feel apart. So let us rejoice in our beloved community that makes of the many one. So may it be.
Ain't no miracle being born, people doing it every day. Ain't no miracle growing up, people just grow that way. So it goes, like the river flows, and time keeps rolling on. And maybe what's good gets a little bit better, and maybe what's bad gets gone. Bless the child of a working man. She knows too soon who she is. Bless the hands of a working man. He knows his soul is his. So it goes, like the river flows, and time keeps rolling on. And maybe what's good gets a little bit better, and maybe what's bad gets gone. So it goes, like the river flows, and time keeps rolling on. And maybe what's good gets a little bit better, and maybe what's bad gets gone.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Aaliyah Cannon, and I'm a minister in the Druid faith. I am also your membership chair, and I'm on the worship committee. And you're likely to see me greeting on any given Sunday morning. Today is not only May 1st, it's May Day, and for people who celebrate, it's also Beltane. You might be asking, what does that mean? Most recent studies indicate that approximately 3 million people worldwide identify as pagan, and 1 million of them live in the US. In 1987, paganism was added to the UU list of sacred sources under the title Earth-Centered Religions, And in 1993, we saw pagan content added to the great hymnals that you see before you. Beltane marks a season when flowers are fully in bloom. The trees and the land are green. They're in their brightest colors of the season. And the weather is now warm enough that we can play outside after we've done working. Of the 1 million pagans in the US, many will tell you Beltane is about a god and a goddess making love. And for some, that is very true. But there's many more things, and as a Druid, I am always looking deeper at our celebrations. For instance, what if you are gay? How do you celebrate? What if you've had bad experiences with love and sexuality? How do you celebrate a holiday that tends to focus on that? Beltane is much more than this. Druids honor the returning of the earth in all its green. Soon, our gardens will overflow with vegetables, our trees ripe with fruit, and our fields ripe with grain. The cold months are completely behind us, and we revel in the warming of the sun. And we dance. We dance around fires because fire is the center of a pagan community in Druidry, just like fire is the center of our worship here at the church. We, as Druids, we know fire, it symbolizes the light that we all hold within us. And we acknowledge that by celebrating the great light in the sky, the sun, as it rises towards its peak at summer solstice. Beltane is music, it's dancing, it is poetry, storytelling, it is the arts. The spirit of Beltane is the thriving Mother Earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Reverend Aaliyah. Today's worship service is called Nurturing the Beauty of Working People. And as I said at the beginning, some of you weren't here, it kicks off a 5-Sunday theme of nurturing beauty. We have 5 Sundays in May. And to some, putting the concept of beauty together with working people might not seem immediately obvious. I admit that when I think of beauty, my mind goes to works of art like the Mona Lisa, or music by Mozart, or beautiful people like Lucinda Zeman. Yet, our contractor, Peter Stay, does beautiful work, painting the exterior of our church like he's doing this week. His paints are different than Da Vinci's paints, and we definitely pay him less. But is Peter's work worth less than Da Vinci's? Is it less beautiful, less valuable? Reggie Craig is sitting here, and along with many others, he worked with his hands to build this beautiful kitchen. Even now, Kevin Wambolt and others are working with their hands, preparing the beautiful food that we will soon eat in our small groups. I learned about the tale of the Monkey King in divinity school at my Buddhist literature class. All these so-called Jataka tales are tales of the Buddha in previous incarnations before he became Prince Siddhartha. And in each case, the incarnation is somebody who is wise, who is learned, usually who has magical powers, but inevitably the incarnation's heroic act is using of the body. So in this case, the Monkey King doesn't use his stretchy magical powers. His ultimate heroic act is his sacrifice of his own body. Now, many Unitarian Universalists tend to be learned, tend to be erudite. Sometimes we tend to be snobby. And our history reflects this, at least on the Unitarian side of things. The author Harriet Beecher Stowe, when she was talking about the early 1800s, said that all the literary men of Massachusetts were Unitarians, all the trustees and professors of Harvard College were Unitarians, all the elite of wealth and fashion crowded Unitarian churches, and judges on the bench were all Unitarian. Still, my old Boston University professor, Mark Harris, says, sometimes Unitarian Universalists believe the stereotype that we are only educated suburbanites, when it is clearly not true. Many UUs, he says, live in marginal economic circumstance or do not have college educations. In Professor Harris's book, Elite, Uncovering Classism in Unitarian Universalist History, Harris concedes Harriet Beecher Stowe's observations, saying 19th century Unitarian elites tended to sacrifice social justice to their need for harmony. Perhaps that's sometimes true today. Harris documents the Unitarian Fellowship movement of the 1940s and 50s. The American Unitarian Association, or AUA, which is the predecessor to the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association that we have today, sought to spread Unitarianism and plant Unitarian congregations throughout the United States. And it was determined that this would be most effective in college towns. 323 of those fellowships founded during the fellowship period still survive today. That's about 1/3 of our congregations. And this focus on college and university towns reinforced what Harris describes as a highly educated white elite. In the early 1960s, the merger between Unitarians and Universalists, the more rural Universalists, was opposed by some, including Unitarian luminaries like Lon Ray Call, who said that if the mass of Unitarians are city folks and the mass of Universalists are country folk, then the difference in the manner and mood of church life between the two groups could make the merger difficult. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying that if you are white and educated and elite that you're a terrible person. I guess I am saying that your life has not been made worse by your race or by your higher education, but I'm not saying that your life is easy. And all of us work with our hands, right? No matter how educated and elitist we are, we all work with our hands. Some of us maybe are better at it, have more training at it, and all of us are educated. We might not have graduate degrees. We might not have read that many books. Some might be better at reading than others, than those of us who find that difficult because of learning disabilities. And our theology, especially our seventh principle, teaches us that we are all connected no matter what our class, what our educational status. That, as Maya Angelou put it, we are more alike than we are unalike. In some ways we are all Peter Stay. In some ways we are all Leonardo da Vinci, Harriet Beecher Stowe. In some ways we're all farm workers from Immokalee. I know this congregation has a history of supporting the human rights of the Immokalee farm workers long before I got here this last August. Cesar Chavez says, it's ironic that those people who till the soil, cultivate and harvest the fruits, vegetables, and other foods that fill your tables with abundance have nothing left for themselves. I saw some of you yesterday at the farmers market, downtown St. Pete. I always go and I always wait in line, sometimes a long time, to buy fruits and vegetables from a woman named Nellie, who along with most of her extended family runs one of the farm stands there. Nellie tells me they start their drive from Immokalee at 11 p.m. the night before, so they can get there at 3 a.m. to start to set up. The advantage of a long line is I have time to chat with people in the line. Sometimes they complain, why do I have to pay $1 for an orange? And when I overhear this, I start telling them about Nellie, about getting up at 11, about driving till 3. And I tell them I'm honored to know the farmers whose fruit I eat. I tell them I'm happy to spend $1 for each of these delicious Florida oranges. And they're stuck in line, so they can't get away and they have to listen. Now, this week, many of us are upset about billionaire Elon Musk buying Twitter. Now, I'm more upset that there are billionaires at the same time that there are also people without homes, without jobs, without health care. But as I've mentioned from here before, this country was founded by people who look like me, who stole land from indigenous people and built our infrastructure using slave labor. So when a billionaire buys Twitter, it's not the system breaking, it's the system working as it was designed to do. Joanne and I talked on the phone this week about her medical care that we talked about in the joys, sorrows, and concerns. And we both shared stories about the times we needed medical care and did not get it or delayed it because of the cost. And it turns out both of us have been rear-ended when we were in cars. And for both of us, our first instinct was not to call 911 and get ourselves checked out for whiplash, but to call our insurance company to see if it would be covered. This isn't right? This shouldn't be that way. So what do? Well, for one thing, we can support the labor movement. Some of you saw that our UUA president, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, issued a statement saying the labor movement is critical to creating and strengthening an economic system that is fair and that addresses the economic injustices we know have been experienced by BIPOC individuals, low-wage workers across sectors, and across gender and sexual orientations. Frederick Gray goes on to say, across the country, we see continued attacks on the right to organize, which violates UU principles around interdependence and the inalienable rights inherent in the democratic process that we hold dear. She ends on a hopeful note, saying, today we are witnessing a growing labor movement built by and for working class people that is pushing back against a system of exploitative capitalism that concentrates wealth in the hands of a few people. It is a movement, she says, coming alive from the bravery and brilliance of Black, Indigenous, people of color, women, LGBTQIA+, undocumented immigrants, poor and disabled communities. Poverty, she says, is a policy choice. Together we can pass legislation that honors workers' dignity, values labor, and holds the quality of every life as sacred. This is what we can do. We can sign the Starbucks Workers United petition in support of unionization. I just posted the link in our public Facebook page this morning. This is what we can do. We can call our senators and urge them to pass the Protecting the Right to Organize Act. This is what we can do. We can attend the Poor People's March on Washington on June 18th, along with many other Unitarian Universalists. This is what we can do. We can go beyond simply making relationships with Immokalee farm workers. We can make this church a beacon of hope so that someday the we includes Immokalee farm workers like Nellie. And our church is gaining members, 5 of them today. And it is through our relationships, through our connection with one another and with the world, that we will transform the world. So let's follow our theology. Let's remember our interconnection. Let's remember the dignity and worth of every being, starting with ourselves. And we will win. I'm convinced we will win. In the long run, human connection and interdependence are more powerful than concentrated wealth. We will win using creative means that we can't even think of right now, inspired and led mostly by people who don't look like me. Angela Davis said, "You have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time." So to paraphrase your song, John, bless the hands of a working person. They know their soul is theirs. And maybe what's good gets a little bit better, and maybe what's bad gets gone. Maybe what's good gets a little bit better. Maybe what's bad gets gone. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and says to the universe who we are. Amen. Blessed be. Ashe.
Now let us remember our connection to one another, and let us not forget our contributions to support the means to those connections. If you are a newcomer here, please refrain from making a donation. This service is our gift to you, and your presence is your gift to us. As the plates are passing, today's new members will be signing our book. Following this, we will welcome them. The offering will now be given and received.
voice activated? Oh, it's on. This morning is a truly glorious morning. One of my favorite jobs in this church, and I don't even think of it as a job, it is more of a passion and a love, and that is to teach new members about our beliefs and our congregation and our covenant. And every time I do it, I'm helping create history here. All of us that use our working hands to volunteer here, to put in effort and contribute. We're all creating the history of this church, and we're growing. We are growing. With this most recent new member class, we welcome in 20 new members for 2022. And I'm very happy and excited to have 6 of them here to sign the book in front of you. And we are going to welcome them with some words in your program. Would you like to go ahead and say something?
Yes, thank you. Most of them have signed our book already, and a few are about to. This is our membership book, those of you who know, and they've done the things they need to do to be official members. And let's have them introduce themselves and say their names, and then get ready with the words in your program. We have 3 lines that we will say to them to welcome them. But first, here's who they are.
Hello, my name is Richard Randolph, and I've been receiving the benefits of hope, health, and love from this congregation since 2018 through the pandemic to the present day. I'm very, very happy to be here today.
My name is Gregory Mize, and I'm blessed and honored to be here today.
My name is John Lyon, and I'm here with my husband Michael. We're from Michigan Snowbirds, and we're happy to have found a home here.
My name is Mike Kennedy. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to serving the church.
My name is Chris Mcdonald. I'm from Huntington, Long Island, New York, and I've been a UU for 40 years, more than 40 years, at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Huntington, and I decided I'd move down here now, so I'm going to become a member of the UU Church of St. Petersburg, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, welcome all 5 of you, and we will say together, please repeat after me. We greet you with love and covenant. We see your inherent worth and dignity. Welcome to UU St. Pete. And you probably noticed that Chris McDonald was the one to light our chalice. Gregory has volunteered to extinguish our chalice, so they will all remain up here as we extinguish our chalice using the traditional UUSP words, which are in your orders of service. Online, they are in the text chat. Ready? You might need to scooch over a little. So, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts out into the world. Please remain seated until the postlude has finished, and then Rebecca will tell you which rooms. Oh, yeah, let's take a picture. Rebecca will tell you which rooms you can go to for your community conversations. Oh, yeah. Well, is it rude to do it during the postlude? No, it's not rude to do this during the postlude. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, new members. In case you wondered why there were 6 people with name tags and 5 who signed the book, we're welcoming Susan as a friend of the church, and I'm glad to have you as well, both here and at Clearwater UU. Blessed be on all of you. Go now in peace, and go now in peace specifically to the rooms as Rebecca describes them.
I was going to say, don't go. Okay, if you have a paper in your program that's this color, we're calling it rose-ish, go to the porch off Gilmore. If you have pink, go to this lounge that's right over here. You can see the pink sign. They're all color-coded. If you have orange, go to the library right over here. If you have yellow, go to Conway. If you have green, go to the minister's office. If you have turquoise, go to the courtyard in the patio in the courtyard. And if you have purple, go to the playground. And if you get mixed up, ask anybody and or look for the color-coded signs on the walls.
That's good enough. Green, follow me.